Okay, so he's got that telescope and that sword in his hand. So this is the page of, it's the Ace of Swords, excuse me. It's a scouting energy. It's like seeing an opportunity come in from a mile away and no longer hesitant, no longer like trepidatious, like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. You're grabbing life by the horns and you're seizing the day and you're just like, that's a good opportunity. I'm going to go for it. And what you're really scouting and looking at here, we have the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune is all of these little opportunities coming into the picture. Choose the right one and run with it. So I feel like you're definitely being thrust from behind the scenes into center stage. And you have a lot to look forward to. And you're given many opportunities in the next coming months from now. I'm sensing until the October timeframe, where you can showcase your talents, where you can be on display, where you are definitely able to, you know, take an idea and run with it and not hold back and not let like self-limiting talks and self-fulfilling prophecies, especially in the past, to hinder your progress. Okay. So that's really, really good. What I'm seeing as well is there was a situation here. We have the Five of Coins, and the Five of Coins is a need for you to have more control and better financial planning. So this is a card here. When it's paired up with the Wheel of Fortune, I feel like it's not so much finance related. Okay. It's more like situations where we feel a little bit ostracized, where we feel like other people are not on board with our ideas, and where we feel like we're lacking in some way. We're lacking in the drive, or we're lacking in the ambition. But I'm also feeling with the Wheel of Fortune, because this signifies destiny. This signifies like things that are larger than ourselves. And it deals heavily with destiny, it's like the path that you're meant to take, your sense of direction, your movement in the world, your ability to kind of like figure out, what is my goal in life? What is my big purpose? What am I here for? And then I also feel like there was this overall sense of confusion and lack of a sense of direction. Okay, so this is like having a lot of opportunities, but kind of like stuck in this little cave, dwelling in, you know, like self-pity, or dwelling in your circumstance. So I usually look at this, and forgive me, Cancer, if it sounds a little bit harsh, but it's like somebody who is a victim of their circumstance. And, you know, all those pentacles are reaching out to this little creature in the cave, right? Somebody has been extending their offers. Somebody's reaching out. Somebody's giving opportunities, and somebody has been kind of like nudging you. Come out of your lair, live your life, look around you. This place is very dank and dark, and it's not a good place for you to live long term. For some of you, this might harken back to respiratory issues when it comes to like living in an environment that is not completely healthy. It's telling you to, you know, open the blinds, let the sunlight stream in. Look at all the opportunities around you. Look at what's outside of your immediate household. Look at what's outside of your immediate city. Expand your consciousness and expand your range. Scout a little bit further and, you know, cast a wider net. Okay. So I feel like for many of you, the sense of direction has been very, very muddled lately. And you're feeling kind of like in this situation where if you have been looking for work, for example, sending out resumes and not getting the responses, okay? Trying to apply for school and not getting the responses. And I also feel like it's a situation where there's a lot of people around you, but you're so determined to do it alone that you feel like other people are not understanding your struggle. And I feel like you might be dealing with somebody around you who is that way. Okay, so you might be dealing with someone who's either not emotionally supportive, who's not like, who doesn't pander to more of that emotional side of you, who rather than, I feel like, giving you like the being your cheerleader and propping you up and guiding you and telling you, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. They kind of leave you to your own devices. And I feel like you kind of had to, work through, like feel things out in this dark cave. And, it's like walking through life blindfolded, not knowing exactly where you want to go, ultimately what your destination is, and having to figure things out from scratch and having to reinvent the wheel and having to, muddle through life. And I feel like that sense is that sense of, lack of direction is finally coming to an end. Right underneath it, we have here, this is accelerated movement, okay? Swift movement, cutting through the darkness. This person's got like a little lantern on one hand, and he's propelled by this, it's a rocket. So this is like a lot of swiftness, a lot of fast forward movement, a lot of communication that will kind of break the ice, and a lot of communication back and forth that will basically lure you away from this dark and dank space that emotionally you've been stuck in for some time. So I definitely see forward movement, forward advancement. And I also feel like for many of you, especially if you've been single for quite some time, we do have new love offers coming into the picture. I have here the Page of Cups. And what I'm seeing here is there's somebody who's very concerned about you, okay? I have here the Nine of Swords, worry, anxieties, thinking about worst case scenarios, wondering like, is that going to come to fruition? Or, are my worst fears going to be realized? Once again, that energy about self-fulfilling prophecy. I feel like you're getting a lot of support and a lot of like outreach from other people. I do have a love interest here. And in particular, this is somebody who is communicating very, very heavily with you, back and forth, back and forth. I'm seeing like a ping pong ball almost, back and forth, back and forth. There might have been either a physical distance between you and this person, or like an emotional rift between you and this person. And you might have felt like the Five of Pentacles, you might have felt like the Hermit. You're trying to find your sense of direction. And you're kind of like sequestering yourself, trying to do this on your own. Because I feel like Cancers, you have that, the hard shell, right, for protection. But the inside, the fleshy part, it's all very delicate. It's all very human, right? And so I feel like, in your ability, you're trying to be very, very stoic, and you're trying to get through situations on your own. And I feel like they're telling you, you don't have to prove that to anybody. You don't even need to prove it to yourself. This is the month where, outreach, having other people on your side, reaching out to others and reciprocating when others reach out to you. That's where the connections will be made. And that's where you're going to be able to kind of emerge from this dark, dank space and kind of like come into your own, okay? Feel whole again, feel good again. And I also feel like if you felt like I'm very much alone on this journey, no one really, really understands me, there is going to be communication, and especially a major, big gesture of love, somebody who really, really cares about you. And they're checking up on you. They're asking, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? I have a very strong Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, Virgo. And we have here the Page of Swords. And this is somebody, I feel like they're bringing a lot of clarity in your life. Okay. So any of the aforementioned signs, okay, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, and a Virgo. So this to me denotes somebody who's bringing a lot of communication, a lot of guidance, a lot of like, cutting through the BS, a lot of clarity. Somebody who is really helping you scout out your territory, really sitting down with you and telling you, here are your options. What would you like to do? How would you like to proceed? And so if you felt like you've been in a situation and it just seems like, round and round and round and round we go, like that merry-go-round. When is it going to end? When is it going to stop? When am I going to be able to, exact some major change in my life? I feel like this person is providing some type of a insight, spiritual wisdom, spiritual insight, being divinely guided by your guides, as well as whatever it is that you believe in, whatever entity that is working behind the scenes in order to make things fall into place. Okay. So this is like spiritual insight, shining a light on a situation and trying to understand the situation, trying to get clarity, trying to look at things from all different perspectives. Because once you shine a light on it, once it's already discussed, once it's out in the open, it's that elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. But once the light has been shined on it, we realize, you know what? This is a problem. We need to do something about it. So let's crowdsource. Let's, communicate with each other and figure out, let's keep each other in the loop. Let's constantly communicate and try to figure out, how do we move forward? And so I feel like for many of you, this situation might have happened. I feel like, September of last year. Yeah, September of last year, something happened in the September timeframe. Virgo, this is a September energy here. And I feel like with the Wheel of Fortune, it might be the previous time frame. Okay, so whatever happened September of last year, I feel like it was very, very life-changing for you. Something came into the picture, new opportunities. And I feel like things happen really, really fast. It's almost like, life was going along. It was like kind of dragging along. And then something happened. September came. And then you felt like you were pulled in multiple directions. You felt like life was happening to you rather than you were in control of your life. So this is the month where you're just like, stop. I'm taking back my control. I'm the one steering my rocket. I'm the one guiding it where to go. I'm the one with this, torch. I'm the one figuring things out. So I feel like you're no longer allowing things to happen to you. You're taking charge and you're steering your life in the right direction. And what's coming in is, as well, a lot of emotional contentment and a lot of emotional happiness. And we also have a situation here, 4 of Cups, feeling almost like there's a lot of opportunities that are in front of us. We're all emotionally invested in each one of these opportunities. So which one do I go with? So there is a little bit of an indecisiveness. But I feel that you're not going to let this situation interfere with your forward movement and the accelerated rate in which you're moving things along. What you're doing, once again, this is a card about control. She's got that globe in her hand and she's guiding it from one place to the next, okay? So the 2 of Wands is sort of like no longer stuck in that ivory tower, watching life happens in front of us. This is like stepping out of it and applying theory to practice, getting an opportunity to prove yourself, getting an opportunity to showcase your talent, getting an opportunity to kind of like put your foot down and take back control of your life. And you're doing it so in a very big way, okay? And I feel like no matter what, you are divinely guided. There's a lot of spiritual energy here. People, entities working behind the scenes in order to create and clear up obstacles in your path for you. But I feel like you're meeting the universe halfway. You're not waiting for things to just kind of like magically, it's like that parting of the sea. You're not just waiting to get there and like magically wait for the sea to part and for the path to form. You're working with your spirit guides. You're working with the entities working behind the scenes. You are able to figure out. You're really able to figure out, this is what I want. This is the path that I want to head towards. These are the things that I want to achieve. Because I feel like in the past, it was just a matter of keeping everything afloat, right? Like juggling, making sure you don't drop the ball, making sure everything is done in a timely manner. You rarely had time to have like a breather and to really figure out what's the end of this? Like, what's the end goal? I'm just, staying afloat, keeping all the discs in the air, keeping all the balls in the air, not dropping the ball. But ultimately, what is that singular ultimate goal? Like, what is that ultimate destination? What is that ultimate path? And I feel like you have not been able to find that for quite some time. And now you're able to, and you might have felt like, time was ticking too. And so with the time ticking, you might realize that I need to get a move on. I can't sit on the sidelines anymore. And I need to be able to, be the one to write that chapter in my own life and not just sit on the sidelines on the ivory tower or, just on the sidelines of life, watching things happen to me that I have no control over. So it's really a reading about self-empowerment, and it's really a reading about finding hope again is what I'm sensing. Let me talk a little bit about your love situation. Okay, so give me just a moment. I usually look at this as walking on eggshells. Okay, it's somebody who's kind of like, woe is me. Okay, he has on the one hand a lot of options, but on the other hand, he's looking at the water and he's all like, I want this other big, 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 big option. For some of you, you're in a space where there might be power struggles. There might be like power differential. There might be like power dynamics within your relationship. One person wants to go one way. The other person wants to do things another way. One person has a dream to, live in Florida. The other person wants to live in like Seattle. One person wants to work overseas. The other person wants to stay in the continental US, for example. So I feel like there are a lot of like ideological as well as philosophical and career and just a lot of aspirational differences between you and the person that you're dealing with. And so with the Chariot card in the reverse, if you see it in the upright position, it's like the two horses headed in different directions. And then as a result of that, it's really hard for two people to move forward. It's really hard for two people to decide, like, what do we do? What is our relationship going to look like next year? What is our relationship going to look like 5 years from now? So I feel like you're dealing with somebody who might want different things in life than you do. You're dealing with somebody that you're trying to work together as a unit. Like you want teamwork. You want cooperation. You want togetherness. So, for example, if you're cooking, you want them to do the dishes. If you're chopping up vegetables, you want them to marinate the meat, for example. You want a lot of teamwork. Cancerian people want like to share that experience, every single experience with another person. And when it's in the reverse, it's sort of like when you want to cook, they want to watch TV. If you want to cuddle and watch TV, they want to go outside. So I feel like there's different energetic wavelengths that are running through you and a significant other. And then I have as well, Queen of Swords, you might be dealing with an air sign, Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. So this card, Five of Cups, is linked up with this air sign. So let me just talk to you a little bit about air signs, okay? Whenever this card comes out, not so much the King of Swords, but the Queen of Swords. And, you can be dealing with a male or a female, whatever gender they are, and they're watching, or you're dealing with them, or you could be a cross-watcher. Whatever the situation, this is a person that has been through hell and back, okay? They might not have had like the most pleasant, supportive, stable childhood environment, okay? A lot of things happened to them when they were children. And I always see it with this court card. It's somebody that has been through their fair share of like having to grow up really, really fast, possibly dealing with poverty. Life was not a bed of roses, and life was hard. And I feel like, they've experienced in the first like 20 years of their life, they've experienced a lifetime of situations that other people have not experienced. Okay. So like they're wise beyond their years. They've overcome a lot in life. And this is not somebody who's a victim of their circumstance. And this is not someone who's very tolerant of weaknesses. So you're dealing with someone who's a little bit like hardened, who's difficult to approach, who's a little bit skeptical, who's a cynic. And it's linked up here with the Five of Cups. And I'm feeling like, there's a lot that has been said and a lot that has happened in this relationship. And I feel like this is the month where the two of you kind of, really open up and bare your soul to one another, because I do have a soulmate connection here. You have the Three Cups that are already, knocked over. Too much has been said. Too much has been done. Too much has happened in this relationship. Too much time has passed. But then we also have the Two Cups, which is, the friendship, which is the deep down on a spiritual core. The two of you want the same things. You just want to be loved. You just want to be, you just want to trust one another. You want somebody to call family. You want somebody to come home to at the end of a hard day's work. You both want the same things. It's just the individual routes that you take might not, coincide. But ultimately, at the end of the day, when you strip away all the exterior, you and the other person wants the same thing. And somewhere along the way, things got a little bit lost. They might have been harsh with their words. They might have made you feel like a little bit left out. They might feel that you're leaving them out in the cold. They might not be very sensitive to your emotional needs, but air signs don't understand innately, what does it mean to have emotional needs? They don't really know how to fulfill that. And I feel like it's really important to talk about these things, because we don't come, we can't read other people's minds. So we have to let them know what we need, what we want to be emotionally happy. And if we tell them and they're not, and like they're made aware of it, but they refuse to do the things that we tell them, then we have a good reason to kind of walk away, right? But I feel like there's something here that can be salvaged, that can be reignited, that can be resuscitated, that can be brought back to life. And I feel like it's just a matter of looking at your priorities, casting your eyes in the right direction and looking at what's still salvageable. So all hope is not lost. So I feel like for some of you, you're dealing with an air sign. For others of you, there's a huge gesture, outpouring of love between you and another person. You might be taking a trip to come see this person. They might be taking a trip to come see you. The Eight of Wands is greatly about travel and movement. And then there's like that, the outpouring gesture of love. Some of you are getting a lot of communication, like text messages. If you're even online dating, a lot of attention. Okay. But you're also dealing with somebody who's quite popular too. And I feel like, you're looking at them like, wow, life is really, it's like the universe is really answering my prayers, bringing somebody who's pretty amazing, bringing somebody who's very independent. And it's funny, Cancerian people are really, really drawn to partners who are very, very independent. And then I feel like, you want a lot more together time with your partner, but they're so independent that they might not be aware that you need that. So at the onset of the relationship, it's very exciting. And then over time, you feel a little bit left out because this person has a gazillion things